Bubba Cunningham heard that word on the street was Hubert Davis was putting up numbers in the pod appearance category, and he is here to try to salvage his spot on the leaderboard and also talk about the Tar Heels.
Yeah, I think the leaderboard should be more well-publicized. Maybe on the video screen outside or maybe up the bell tower.
Yeah, pod appearances.
Yeah.
I like that.
It should be.
Every pod, the bell tower is lit. And also home football wins and national championships.
Like
that seems right.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming by. We thought we'd start with the most recent news. The Tar Heels are going to Ireland. How did that come about, and what are the benefits for Carolina football and Carolina athletics?
I just think it's great. I have been a part of a game years ago over in Ireland, and it is a great experience. And as you guys know, we really try to get our student athletes to have an international experience or some kind of an internship or something. And football is so consuming with time. And so to be able to take the entire football team and have an international experience, I think would be fantastic. And it worked out great with TCU. As I mentioned, they have 8 home games next year. And so for them to dial it back to 7, take this one, put it on the road, I think it would be a fantastic experience for both of us.
Was this how did this come about? Were you contacted? Did you contact TCU? Did the game itself get it all together? How'd all this happen?
Well, John Anthony with Anthony Travel on location, they've been, they continue to try to get games every year. Sure. This will be the 5th one, and then they've got Pitt, Wisconsin after us. So he's been shopping it for a while. We just haven't had the right mix of home games and away games to make it work for us. And this year just came, just through another conversation. It looked like it made sense. He contacted TCU. It made sense for TCU. So here we go, 2026. We're announcing our 26 schedule before we play down in 25.
As you mentioned on Wednesday, ticket response has been huge to the Bill Belichick era. Season tickets, you said, are sold out. Single game tickets at some point, maybe?
Yeah, we'll convert those. Here's what we do is we take reservations for season tickets, and our reservations exceeded the number that we have. So,
wow.
You don't mind sitting on each other's lap. You'll be fine.
What does that say about the appetite for Carolina football in this coming era?
It's exciting. I do think the quality of the coaching staff, the experience of the coaching staff, people are just anxious to see what this is going to look like. And Coach Belichick has been great. He's excited about going to Ireland. He's more excited about this season. And I'm excited as well. How do you do it? I mean, he's had 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
I mean he's not exactly a pod guy, but 6 Super Bowls. That counts.
Bubba, the transfer portal has been a part of our life now for several years. It feels like there is more volatility with rosters this year than ever before. We have felt it here at Carolina, and it is happening not just here, but across college athletics. What can we do? What can we do about this? I think nobody dislikes it, but to the point where
I dislike it.
But
I dislike it.
It's just so volatile right now.
It is, but we've always say this is a turbulent time, and it could be. Hopefully, it is the most turbulent time we're going to have. We are weeks away from a settlement. Mm-hmm. We have a date that when the settlement gets agreed to, we'll have clarity going forward. We've always thought that July 1 would be the time that things become more clear and we have rules that we all have to live by. And so between now and July 1, everyone's trying to prepay, so that's making it more complicated.
Right.
So we're hopeful that July 1, this is what the revenue sharing cap is. You live with that, and NIL meets a fair market value test after that. But in this 2-month period, we're spending money that we hopefully won't have to spend in the future. It's a great time to be a student athlete. It's the most lucrative time in history to be a college player in football and basketball.
And probably the last time in your life you'll ever have an job holder say, I would like to prepay you for the work you haven't done yet.
Right.
At a very high rate.
Well, and you're seeing it. You're seeing Arkansas is the one I saw most recently trying to get money back that they've already paid. And the question is, if you pay and you pay over a period of time, are you paying for preparation to play? Are you paying just because you did play? There's going to be multiple lawsuits about who's being compensated and who's not. So how much are you getting paid for this pod?
I'm in the negative currently.
We'll have to worry about this. This could be another loss. I have to. From now on, when I come, I would like to bring an attorney with me.
Yeah.
Look, now we have Piedmont pennies for every guest that comes and joins us. So there you go. Look, now that's your NIL for this guest appearance.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to put this right on my forehead, and I will take a selfie of that and get that out.
There we go.
You mentioned the settlement. One slight hiccup this week to the settlement with the judge saying she would like to see a little more attention paid to roster limits. What does that mean, and what does that mean for Carolina most importantly?
Great question. So she made that proclamation last night, and you want me to answer this today?
Yeah, in full detail.
And the attorneys have 14 days to answer it. I can project what I think it'll be. I think that we will be able to have anyone that's been on the roster previously invite them back. I would think that the attorneys will probably narrow it down to just a couple of years. That may be a 2-year window to let people decide what they want to do. I don't think it'll go all the way back to everybody that was been on the team. But as I talked to our student athletes last night, just because the judge says that you can come back, a coach always has the prerogative to determine how big is their team and who is on that team. So we have let a lot of students know you're not going to be on the roster next year. That doesn't mean you will be on the roster next year no matter what the judge says. She will not have an order that says you must have Adam on your basketball team.
Yeah, good thing. So how do you figure that out if you're a coach and you're going into this summer? And
the coach has total attitude. The coach recruits the kid right out of high school, recruits the kid out of the portal. The coach will construct their roster.
But we've seen a lot of guys, especially in basketball, at least I've seen it mostly in basketball, that are out of eligibility but are going into the transfer portal, I guess just to keep their options open. What is going on there?
That is, that thought about, hey, we're going to have 5 years to play 5. Mm-hmm. So they want to have that possibility should it happen. Or maybe, we create a rule that says, you know what, you can play as long as you want. We're going to have no rules relative to what your clock looks like. And they want to make sure that they're putting themselves in that position. Or they just want to see their name in the paper. I'm not sure which.
I'm guessing you don't like hey, just stay on the team for 20 years if you want to. But are you in favor of the 5-and-5 rule? Where do you fall on all that?
It's a great question. I don't believe that we will ever get to a situation where you have a 5-year clock to play 5 and there are no waivers. We've never been able to exist without any waivers. So I think that's a bit unrealistic to think that's going to happen. The only way we're going to get to a position where it will be enforceable is if we collectively bargain what the student can do and what we can do. So all of these other things are going to be challenged by somebody. And so to me, I think we have to have a plan to get to collectively bargaining. And now I know that could be heresy for some, but I don't think you have to be an employee, and I don't think we should collectively bargain by school. It should be either by sport or by conference or by national governing body. But if I looked over the next 10 years of where I think we're going to be in some space like that, because this is not sustainable. Although I know I'm going to ramble now and just rambling, but I don't think we're going to get enough traction in Congress right now because right now the students are getting paid, the coaches are getting paid, our facilities are full, our media rights continue to increase. So if you ask the general public, what is the problem? It's hard to define the problem. Well, we don't like it.
Right.
We don't like the ability that these people get to move and do these other things. So that's not compelling enough to me if I were in Congress to say, okay, I'm going to change it and give you something that will protect what I'm not sure of. So I think we need to do something as an industry that demonstrates what we're willing to do and then go back to Congress and say, okay, we've done this. We're compensating players, and this is how we're doing it. And we've bargained with them. We've agreed with them. And now we would like protection of these other sports because what we're seeing is as we've revenue shared in the past, and we've talked about this, we've revenue shared football and basketball with everybody else. Right now the revenue share is the vast majority is going to football and basketball. So beyond that, how are we going to protect the other sports? Because I do think they're very important to the rest of the country.
I think there are some fans and alums and Rams Club members or whatever who, as long as the team on the field or court or the playing surface is wearing Carolina jerseys and they're blue, they're happy. That's Tar Heel athletics to them. If you're one of the fans who Tar Heel athletics to them is more about the connection and the fact that the people playing had the same experience at this school that you did, and you feel like you've sort of watched them grow up, what would you say to those people to sort of help them get through this period that it sounds like might be temporary, but at the current moment is a little off-putting?
It is. The connectivity is, I sat next to you in class, and somebody may have a lot of money in class and you don't know it. I mean, these students they're getting paid a lot of money. So there is a classmate in there with you that's making a lot more. In fact, a handful of them are making a lot more than the professor's teaching them. So that is different. I do think the idea that you have to be a full-time student is the connectivity that we need to maintain. Now, what does a full-time student mean? Is it all online classes? Are they asynchronous? Do you have to be in the classroom? I think that becomes a little bit more debatable. And we're seeing that with some of the kids in the transfer portal that are coming from different institutions that have a lot more online opportunities than we do. But I think that's where fundamentally where people, at least that's where I think people have an affinity. They need to be students, and they should progress toward a degree. Now, those rules, I think, are going to come under a lot of debate as well in the next few years because compensation is part of the package. But we have 800 student athletes. We have 100 of them that play sports that generate money. So I do think we almost have to make a distinction between those that are here in a sport that generates a lot of money, they'll be compensated very well, versus the ones that are going to get a scholarship and get a great education. Not saying you can't get a great education if you're generating money as well, but I think there's going to be a distinction between a couple of categories within what we'd call the student athlete today.
Bubba, let's change gears and go back maybe 6 weeks ago or so, and NCAA tournament. And, of course, Bubba was the chair this year of the NCAA tournament committee. Just a lot happening there as that field was announced. Just take us through what was going on with you. I understand certainly a challenging situation with you and Carolina and how it all played out. How did it go from your perspective?
Well, you're right. It got off to a little bit of a rocky start, if you will. But it's interesting. I've been this is my 5th year on the committee. And each year was completely different than any of the other ones. Some of them a little bit similar, but very, very different. My first year, we were in the bubble. And that was my first year. I was the only new member on the committee. So I was learning as I was going of how you select teams, how you seed them, then how do you bracket them. That was interesting. And, we were in the tournament. We got blown out in the first round. Second year, we get in the tournament as a 9 seed, I think it was, and we go all the way to the championship game. Absolute phenomenal year. The next year, we don't make the tournament. We're on the bubble. We don't get in. The following year, we're a 1 seed, and we're clearly in, and now we're back on the bubble. And I knew going to Indianapolis, this was going to be a really sticky year because we were on the bubble. We were, 36 in the net, I think it was. And it was a difficult time for the committee to try to sort through that. We also had 2 new metrics this year. We had the Torvik metric and we had the WAB or the WAB, however you want to say it, the wins against the bubble. And so those were things that the committee was wrestling with all year long. So I do think at the end, I think the committee did a great job of selecting the teams that were in the field. I think the bracketing was right when you certainly get the top 4 seeds that make it to the championship. So, it was a great learning experience. Of course, when we get in as the very last team, it certainly raised a lot of controversy. And I felt bad for the committee because, I think my integrity and the integrity of the committee was questioned. And, that's obviously something that really hurts when you hear that. But I also know that there's a team or a couple of teams that didn't get in that are very frustrated and feel like there was a bias, and I completely understand that. But you're not going to change it, and we knew it going in.
Were you surprised by the intensity of the blowback from people who were disappointed with how it shook out?
Well, I think there was a lot of disappointment originally, but I do think there were a handful of individuals that threw a little gas on the fire, and I think that made it last a little bit longer than it usually does. But I tell you, when we got up 40 points twice on San Diego State, the only thing that better would have been 50 or maybe 60. And I'm like, we truly deserve. We were a very good basketball team. We were completely inconsistent all year. But much a deserving team. There were other deserving teams as well. But it's interesting that the staff tells us as a committee, you're not trying to put the most deserving team into the tournament. You're trying to put the best 37 at-large teams in. And I believe we were one of the best 37 at-large teams. You can debate deserving all you want, but that's not the charge of the committee.
What's the difference in best and most deserving?
You're not supposed to ask him.
Give me back those pennies, Bubba.
I think the best team, who has a chance to win? To me, that's what that means. I mean, the most deserving might mean maybe you had a better metric in a certain area. Maybe you had more conference wins or non-conference wins or quad one wins or something like that. You might consider those teams more deserving. But at the end of the day, it's who are the best teams and who can win this game. And, one of the former committee chairs, and I have a ton of respect for, he's been doing it a long time, he said, shirts and skins, who wins? Put that team in. And I agree with that. I think you want to put the best team in to give yourself the best tournament. But
when you were walking through that recent Carolina NCAA tournament selection history, that was a little more up and down than Tar Heel basketball is maybe accustomed to. Carolina made a big fundamental change here during the course of the regular season, hiring a general manager. How will that help the structure of the program to maybe shore it up a little and eliminate some of those ups and downs?
Well, I think what our history has been at Carolina, I think we have really been good at identifying young high school talent, developing that talent, and having a program that's been consistent for a long period of time. The coaching staff is consistent, style of play is consistent. Kind of, quite frankly, the body type of the players have been fairly consistent over time. And I think that's what has been our tradition. But that's not today's environment anymore. Now we have the transfer portal, we have NIL, and we have one and dones, and we have the draft. So I think the general manager will allow us to take a look at the college landscape, who's playing right now, who will fit our system as we go forward, what does it take to attract talent, how do you pay the NIL, how do we interact with this new rev share that starts July 1, and so I think we'll get consistency. I think we've been inconsistent in our success in the portal. I think we've had some great success, and we've had a couple of misses. Not to say we haven't had misses over time in high school, but I think we have to continue to do what we're doing at the high school level, assess college landscape better so we're more consistent in the portal. I think we have to do a better job of retention of kids on our own team, and I think if we can do that, we'll have more consistency that we've had in the past. And I think our GM will allow staff members to focus on things other than scouting, recruiting, and coaching throughout the year. And that's the whole idea of a general manager and a kind of a personnel office, or a front office as it's called in basketball.
Ooh, two questions off that. Just first of all, what was it about Jim Tanner? What do we like about Jim Tanner? What was attractive to you and to Coach Davis and the decision makers there in that hire?
Well, I think Jim's career has just been absolutely outstanding. He's been around basketball for 30 years. He's built a practice as a sports agent. He has impeccable integrity. He's thought of in the most highest regard of anybody that's associated with what, quite frankly, can be a very sticky business and a lot of ethical concerns about that business. Not one single question about that. I think he fits Carolina. He knows Carolina as a student. He hasn't been an employee here, but he's been connected to the place. And I just think he understands the values of this place, understands our program, has worked with basketball players all across the country. I don't think there's a better fit for us, for the GM, for our basketball program.
The other follow-up I had of what you said was about high school recruiting. Are you concerned a little bit about that side of college, of the high school to college transition? It just seems like with the portal and with people staying longer, all those different things, that maybe there are some kids who traditionally would have been in any sport, would have been considered that maybe aren't anymore, or being considered in a different way. Does that concern you?
It does. It concerns me a lot. I mean, I'm looking at our roster coming in, and we have 3 very talented freshmen coming in. We had some freshmen in last year's class. And you really think that they should develop and grow. They're 17, 18 years old. They're going to get stronger. They're going to get faster. Their shot's going to get better. Their basketball IQ is going to be raised over a period of time. I worry that there's an immediacy to and a financial return to how good you are right now, and it's a short-term view. I mean, the longer-term view is a better play, but in today's society, a quick, bad decision seems to be valued more than a long-term, thoughtful decision, and that's concerning to me. It's concerning to me that somebody's going to trade an academic experience or a growth experience for a quick, easy fix right now, and that's not going to help them in 5-10 years down the road. But I'm old.
This is only sort of related to that. What's a good schedule in men's basketball and football right now when you take the whole picture into account? Success on the court / field, making money, nationwide appeal, TV ratings, all that stuff that is now really important. What's a good schedule?
Just win them all.
With every game.
That's the schedule that wins. Now, well, what I have learned a lot in basketball, in particular, since we've been talking about that mostly, basketball. What I have seen drives the most for your league and your team is winning 80% or more non-conference games as a composite, not any particular team. Your entire league, if you can win over 80% of your games, you'll get a lot of teams in the postseason. Your net rankings will be very high, and then you'll play against teams that have a pretty narrow margin of where they are, top to bottom, which is what happened to the SEC this year. It's happened in the Big 12 in a couple of years. It happened to the ACC pre-COVID. So I think that helps. Football, I do think that what you have to do in football is you want to win your league so you can get in the CFP. So now with 12 teams, you just have to win enough games to get in the CFP. And I don't think there's a way you can schedule your way in, but I do think there's ways that you can put yourself in a better position. And in our case, you have to finish in the top 2 in the league. Finish top 2, you get in a championship game, win that game, you're in. So it's pretty straightforward in football just because there's fewer spots. But in basketball, I think you have to have a collective thought as a league of how we're going to do it. Now, if you want to get a high seed, you have to play a better schedule. You have to play top teams and you have to win. So this year in our basketball schedule, we were 7-5 non-conference. That's not good enough. We have to win over 80% of our non-conference games. So next year, we're going to have 7 home games. Last year, we only had 5. And that'll be helpful. And then if the league moves from 20 conference games to 18, we'll have more of an opportunity to schedule more games at home and win those games. And you should win those games by a significant margin.
Since we last saw you, the ACC has changed potentially the way it distributes some revenue, especially as relates to TV ratings and brand appeal, whatever that means. What does that specifically mean for Carolina? Do I need to stop watching all the other teams and always leave the TV running when I go to the Tar Heel games? Like, how is this going to affect things? Because it seems like Carolina plays in some highly rated games.
Yeah, we do. But you're right. I think it's a good thing because I do believe with an 18-team league, you do want to have a little greater distribution. Not every team brings the same value. That used to be the way all of our industry worked, that we would all share the money. Yeah, that's come and gone. So we're now paying players differently. We have to pay schools differently. And so you're right. The more games that we have that are competitive games on big networks, we're going to get paid more. There's also an incentive pool for those that participate in postseason basketball, those that participate in postseason football, and you can earn additional money. So all of those things matter. So yes, keep watching our games, quit watching them, and then just replay our games, and then send it to Nielsen and say, hey, I watched it again. Get another chip on our side.
Adam, Clemson and Florida State are playing. Turn it off.
No, it's 1 versus 2. I don't care. The Tar Heels are playing Richmond.
That's right. Carolina, the latest Learfield Director Cup thing that came out, Carolina was second nationally. Spring sports are going very
second.
Yeah, Stanford did jump on top of Carolina. Right now, we still have all the spring sports.
I thought we were first.
They have been. Carolina's been number 1 all year. They slipped to 2 right now.
We got a little. I think we got pencil whipped on that one.
That's right. Just your thoughts on kind of where Carolina is as a whole, and certainly it seems like a very successful spring that we are in the middle of right now.
It is absolutely fantastic. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a dinner celebrating the national championship for women's soccer. And we had 3 of our student athletes up there talking. And Michaela Page, 800-meter national champion for women's track, We had Kate Fossey, who you've had here, Honda Award winner, national champion. And we had Ethan Strand, who nosed out you guys in the 800 or the 3,000 meter national champion, 348 in the mile national champion. And then followed that with Carson Klug, who, Carson's a former lacrosse player, lost his leg and now is a triathlete or a Paralympian, won silver over in Paris. All those people spoke, and I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is like a year-long celebration of stuff, and we did it one night with 4 different people. I was like, this is what Carolina's all about. Those champions. We talk about, we educate and inspire through athletics. To me, that was such an inspirational night. And our coaches, our students, women's lacrosse just pounding people right now, baseball, softball winning, David Ford winning every tournament he plays in. Boy, he's going to be my guest and the member guest this year at Old Chatham. It's going to be fun. I'm not even going to go.
All podcasts, by the way. Yeah, everybody Bubba just mentioned.
Every single person. Yeah.
That's why we need the scoreboard.
That's right. What's next? What's on your plate here for the next 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever, as you look forward?
Close out this year, really get a better understanding of what the settlement is and how we're going to go about implementing that. We joke about it a lot in here, and it's not to be joked about because, it's significant. The settlement hopefully will provide us an opportunity to revenue share in an equitable way across the industry that will have fair market value for NIL. And so students will be fairly compensated for what they're doing. Hopefully it'll slow down some of the lawsuits that we have. But we want to continue to offer broad opportunities at Carolina. We'll have 28 teams. We're going to be able to scholarship more kids next year because of tuition remission. And we've made a huge investment in football and basketball that we want those to continue to thrive so that they can support the other teams. And I think we can do that. And these are just incredible students that are here with great coaches. So we have to just focus on what is important to us, which is that. It's education, it's inspiration, give them a great education. Let us figure out the economics behind it. How do we finance it? But let's not spend that much time talking about that. Let's spend it on the kids and the coaches.